This community was underwater. And the next community I found was also underwater. And this next community, they had, and it's difficult to say like how far away they were. I just know that it was like a lot of travel. And the way I was traveling was kind of like blipping from one, it wasn't like just swimming. It was almost like, it felt different. Like you would like just kind of like have a thought and you'd be further
thought
ahead.
travel.
Yeah. It's
So I noticed in your bio, you talked about Atlantis.
yes.
Can you share your experience with that? I'm assuming that you saw Lifetime or Lifetimes in Atlantis.
Yeah, well, I saw a lot of lifetimes in like mer type of worlds, like water-ish based worlds. And I remember, I'm assuming this one is Atlantis because I remember being, I was a mother and I had kids and I was holding one of them when I just saw, like this massive wave coming in. And I was a pretty like average person. And in that first lifetime that I saw, and I just remember the absolute terror of dying by water, basically. And that one was one I needed to definitely like heal and focus on because I was just overwhelmed with this fear of like this, this element, water, so powerful, and it was coming in to just basically sweep everything away, including me, my family. I wanted to protect my son that was holding him in my arms. I think I remember that when it happened. Wow. So it was very, very traumatic. Yeah, that was one of them. And then I had a couple others. And I'm not sure, I've had a couple where it's like, I was like a mer type person. And, I was living primarily in the underwater like realms. And in one of them, I was, and I don't know where this is. I don't know if this is Atlantis. I don't know if this was just like a different dimension or somewhere entirely. But I was exiled from my community for breaking a rule, and I was pregnant at the time, and so I had to leave, and I was on my own, and just kind of like traveling, searching for some type of like other community, and it was like very difficult. And I came across like the community that I had left. It's not like they were like bad people or anything like that. It's just that their rules and their laws were really rigid, and if you break one, you're out. And I had understood that, so I didn't hold any hostility towards them. I was just like trying to figure out where to go.
So is this where you were underwater, right? You were a mer being. Yeah. Did you have both? Were you able to be on land and in the water, or was this community underwater?
This community was underwater. And the next community I found was also underwater. And this next community, they had, and it's difficult to say like how far away they were. I just know that it was like a lot of travel. And the way I was traveling was kind of like blipping from one, it wasn't like just swimming. It was almost like, it felt different. Like you would like just kind of like have a thought and you'd be further ahead.
Travel. Yeah, exactly. Thought travel.
Yeah, okay. I didn't, because I would be like, there's no way I could have reached this because I would have been physically exhausted, but I was able to just kind of blip along to the next one. And the next community was underwater, and I had sort of like a uneasy feeling about them, but they welcomed me in and, were going to help me with resources. But I noticed that they had no women, and they were it became clear to me, just like this feeling of unease kind of amplified. And it was like during the night, somebody had came, one of the members had came to me, and he was like, I have to get you out of here. This is necessary. You have to leave now. It's not safe for you. Because they had had something happen where they could no longer, like there was something where something that happened where it killed all the women, and there was no ability of, their race was going to die, basically.
They couldn't procreate.
Yeah. So they saw me as this, pregnant female, and the man that came to save me was like, they're intent on doing these tests on you, and it's not safe for you. You gotta leave. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I'll start my traveling again. And I was so grateful to him, whoever he was. I don't think I know him in this lifetime, but he saved me. And
Wow.
The next place I went to was a community that was above the water, but they were very much, like right on the surf, like right in the sea. And they were humanoid. And by the time I got there, I was so exhausted that I just was like, I couldn't even like think about, is this safe or not? Like, I was just like, please help me. I was desperate. And they were a really loving, wonderful community. And it was there that I, gave birth to my son, and they took care of me. And, I had a life there. And it was, I was also able to kind of like shapeshift essentially so that I could live more so with them rather than totally underwater, because they kind of became my new community and my new family. And they were just a wonderful, benevolent type of people. And I got to, grow very old with them, and I got to see my son grow old and, become like this this guardian of those people. And it really showed me that, like, because when I did that regression, I was like, it took a long time because I just kept seeing like the bad things happen, and I was like, okay, well, is this where I die? Is this where I die? And they were like, surprise, you had like a happy ending and conclusion to that life, although it was filled with a lot of like strife and struggle. I ended up with people that took care of me, and and I wasn't like, that first community, they definitely looked at me like I was like something to possess, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, this community, they just didn't I didn't like what's the word, because I was a Mer person, they weren't like, okay, let's elevate her and worship her, and that would have been weird. They were just accepting. And
right. Yeah, that's awesome. In my Mer memories, and I still find myself in a Mer body in my out-of-body experiences every once in a while, and I seem to go to this place there where there's rocks and a turning kind of sea. It's a dark green, and for some reason I'm drawn to that place, and I look and I see myself in a Mer body. But my experiences, I don't recall any. That's interesting, because I don't recall any communities that I would, would think that wouldn't be friendly or anything like that. So that's really, and I get it, because all communities are different. I mean, all ways of life are different. There's all levels of awarenesses and things like that in all communities.
And I think that, I think it's like, my experience of it wasn't that either of them were like evil or anything like that. It's just that the community without women that couldn't procreate, they were desperate.
Right.
So, like, and then the community that exiled me, their rules were just so rigid, and they they needed those rules,
right.
So much so. So I had the question. I'm like, okay, well, do I have unfinished business with either of these people? And it was like, no, I guess. But
well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really amazing lifetime to be shown to. Obviously, it was shown for all kinds of reasons,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah, totally. So with your near-death experience, I'm curious, and I love to ask this question, and I probably know the answer to it already, but for our audience, what is your thought on dying, and do you have fear of death, and leaving this reality and moving on to the next phase, I guess, of your journey? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the main thing, I wish more people would not have to have a fear of death. That's like a really important thing, and a really important aspect of the work that I do is that I will try to impart that if I can, if somebody's open to it. Not everybody's open to it, because a lot of religions just have a strict view of what happens after you die. But yeah, for me, I because of what I experienced, it's like death is as natural as anything else. Like it's not scary. I mean, there are so many things that can happen to you in life that are worse.
A lot scarier. Yeah.
A lot scarier. And I mean, maybe that sounds bad, but life can be truly challenging. And death is like just coming home. It's a peaceful thing. It's, you're surrounded by warmth and people that love you. And it's such a natural transition to you're just not having this body anymore. You're just, I always say going home, because that's, what it feels like. You're just returning to this peaceful place that I think each of us resides in. We all have our own different homes, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's a scary thing. Maybe if like you aren't expecting it and all of a sudden it happens, that could be kind of like shocking. But I think for me and for a lot of other people that I've talked to who have had near death experiences, it's very peaceful. So yeah, it's the most normal thing in the world when you're doing it and when you're experiencing it. But there's just not enough information out there to like, I don't know, for people to really like absorb that it doesn't need to be this scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I always say that in the Western part of the world, we are not really taught how to die, how to transition, and what to expect. Unfortunately, it's either heaven or hell kind of thing in Christianity. And and a lot of the fundamental beliefs, or just not believing at all, or just not knowing at all. Like me, I kind of like you, we kind of have some parallel stuff going on here, except you're a lot younger, so you did a lot more recent than me. But not going through life, not really, even though I was raised Catholic, not really thinking about what happens when we die, or past lives, or anything like that. I just, I was like I've shared before, I was a partier. I worked, I partied, went home, whatever, didn't, had relationships or something, went back to work, partied, had relationships, took care of my animals. So I had my animals. So until something hits you over the head. And says, wake up, it's okay, you had your fun. Or whatever it is. As children, we've gone through some really horrific things, it sounds like, for you.
Yes, very much.
But at least we had that in our adult years where we could take a break from it.
Yes. And I think I have a memory of, because my mother wasn't, my extended family was like very religious. And so I would occasionally go to like Sunday school, things like that. And it never made any sense to me. I was like, why? Right. Even as a kid, I'm like, wait, why are we punishing people for not getting baptized? It was just like, it was something that they believed very strongly in. And I remember having this moment of being like, the concept of hell, I just made no sense to me. And I think I had tried to verbalize that to them, but they were just like, you can't talk about that. Like, you can't have these questions. Like, this is just how it is.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll stop talking to you about it.
So thank you everyone for watching, and thanks for being here. And also, I would like to say, because it's YouTube, so we have to say this, please subscribe and like the video. It helps with the algorithms, I understand. So it helps us get more content out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.